On my wedding day, my daughter and her husband humiliated my new wife in front of 500 guests. They called her a gold digger. They called her trash. My daughter's entire family laughed out loud while I felt the world crumbling beneath my feet. I stood up trembling with rage and kicked everyone out of the party. It was then that my wife looked at me with a calmness I had never seen before and said something that changed my life forever. Honey, I'm a billionaire. I'm grateful you're here with me. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment, where are you watching from and what time is it there? My name is Gideon Fletcher. I am 65 years old, and for 15 long years I have been a widower. 15 years since my wife Eleanor died suddenly of a heart attack. 15 Christmases alone. 15 birthdays with no one to celebrate with. I spent 38 years working as a factory supervisor at Keller Manufacturing in Savannah, Georgia. It was honest work that left me with calloused hands, a sore back, and $55,000 in savings when I retired. After Eleanor passed, loneliness became my shadow. I often called my daughter Donna, hoping she might visit. She was always too busy running her event planning business, too busy with her husband Luca and their 2 children. She only seemed to have time when she needed something, and that something was usually money. 6 months ago, everything changed. I met Megan at the Mercy Point Senior Community Center, where I volunteered fixing railings and painting walls. She was the volunteer coordinator, 62 years old, with silver hair and kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. The first day we spoke, she brought me coffee. Black, no sugar, exactly how I liked it without asking. We began talking about small things, old movies, quiet mornings, and the belief that a person's worth is not measured by their bank account. Over time, those small conversations grew into something steady and warm. 3 months later, I asked her to dinner at a modest Italian restaurant downtown. It was nothing fancy, but Megan didn't care. She valued conversation sincerity and the way I truly listened to her. 2 months after that, sitting on a weathered bench by the Savannah River, I asked her to marry me. I told her I was not a rich man, that I could not offer luxury vacations or expensive gifts, only my whole heart and unwavering loyalty. I asked if that was enough for her. She cried, took my hand, smiled through tears, and said yes without hesitation. When I told Donna, there was a long, heavy silence. Then she said I was too old and accused Megan of wanting my money. I reminded her calmly that I was marrying Megan, regardless, though I hoped my daughter would attend. Donna refused to bless the marriage, but insisted on planning the wedding herself. That should have been my warning. She demanded a guest list of 500 people. I barely knew a fraction of them, but Donna said it was necessary, and that I deserved a memorable day whether I understood it or not. Megan and I split the cost. I contributed $37,500 from my savings, and Megan paid the rest without complaint. The Savannah International Trade Center offered us a special discount to make everything fit within our limited means. On the morning of the wedding, I stood in the grand hall beneath crystal chandeliers surrounded by ivory curtains, cream-colored silk tables, white roses, and soft golden light. 500 guests filled the room with murmurs and anticipation. Megan looked beautiful in her simple, elegant dress. As we stood at the altar, music playing softly, I felt happier and more alive than I had in 15 long years. Then I heard the laughter, loud, sharp, and mocking, coming from the 3rd row, where my daughter Donna sat beside her husband. It cut through the room like a blade cold. I turned my head toward the sound. 3rd row center. There sat my daughter Donna, 37 years old, wearing a blood-red designer dress that cost more than my pension. I knew that dress. 4 months earlier, she had called me in tears about maxed-out credit cards, and I gave her $4,800 to help her get back on her feet. Now she was wearing my money while mocking my bride. Beside her sat her husband, Luca Langford, 39 years old, slicked back hair and a Rolex on his wrist that flashed whenever he moved. $8,500 he'd proudly told anyone who would listen. Italian suit, smug smile. The kind of man who measured his value by price tags. But they weren't alone. On Donna's other side sat Douglas Langford, Luca's father, 63, overweight, loud, and unapologetic. He'd built his wealth through what people politely called creative business ventures, the sort that danced close to the law. Next to him was his wife Lorraine, 61 and dripping in jewelry that sparkled far too brightly to be genuine. Fake gold, fake diamonds, fake refinement. Then there were the friends. Trent, 28. One of Luca's old dealership buddies already had his phone out smirking. Beside him sat Kylie, 27 perfectly manicured nails tapping her screen as she angled her phone toward the altar. They were recording my wedding. Minister Palmer continued, but I heard hesitation enter his voice. Others noticed too. I felt 500 sets of eyes shifting between the altar and row 3. Donna leaned toward Luca and whispered not quietly enough. Look at her dress. Thrift store special. Luca snorted. My housekeeper dresses better. Lorraine added loudly, poor Gideon. At 65, I suppose he can't do any better. Douglas laughed. She's obviously after his fortune. He lingered on the word before adding, What fortune? The man worked in a factory his whole life. Their group laughed openly. Megan's hand tightened in mine. I looked at her. She remained calm, dignified, unshaken. I felt my face burn and my jaw clench. 5 rows back, I saw Harold Bennett, my friend of 30 years. His face was red with anger, his hands gripping his seat. Still, he stayed quiet. We were men who avoided scenes. My daughter was not. This is humiliating, Donna said louder. He's making a fool of himself. Trent grinned. This is gold. My followers will love it. He was live streaming. Minister Palmer cleared his throat. If we could please? Oh, come on, Reverend Luca interrupted. We're just being honest. Look at them. It's pathetic. Kylie giggled. 6 months before she takes everything and vanishes. The remarks grew crueler, each one cutting deeper. I forced my focus back to Megan, to the vows, to my promise that nothing would ruin this moment. Minister Palmer looked at me silently, asking if we should stop. I shook my head. Gideon, he said gently, please repeat after me. I, Gideon Fletcher, take you. Megan Sullivan. I inhaled. I, Gideon Fletcher, take you, Megan Sullivan, to be my lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer. That was when Luca laughed. Not a chuckle, not a snicker. A loud, deliberate laugh that echoed through the hall, bouncing off chandeliers and ivory curtains, stunning 500 guests. The quartet stopped. Minister Palmer froze mid-sentence. The room went silent. Then slowly and deliberately my daughter stood up. Donna swayed slightly as she stood. She had been drinking, I could see it, in the way she gripped the chair for balance, in the flush across her cheeks. 500 guests fell into absolute silence. Every eye in that grand hall locked onto my daughter. Seriously, Dad, her voice rang out sharp and cutting. This is the woman you chose. I felt Megan's hand tighten in mine. This nobody, Donna scoffed. What does she even do? Volunteer work. You worked 38 years in a factory. You saved every penny. And this is what you do with it. Marry someone who obviously just wants your money. Before I could answer, Luca stood beside her, straightening his Italian suit and adjusting his expensive watch. Mr. Fletcher, with all due respect, he said smoothly, that's not a stepmother. That's trash you picked up off the street. The Langford section erupted. Douglas jumped up, fist raised. Finally, someone said it, gold digger. Lorraine clapped loudly, fake jewelry clinking. Bravo, Luca! Trent and Kylie lifted their phones higher, recording everything. This is going viral, Trent laughed. Around the hall, reactions rippled. Some guests gasped. A few laughed. Most sat frozen, shocked by what they were witnessing. I saw my friend Harold Bennett start to rise, face red with anger. I shook my head slightly. Not yet. Minister Palmer raised his hands. Please let us maintain. Dad, I'm your daughter. Donna cut him off. I'm trying to protect you. Can't you see what she is? Something inside me broke. Not cracked, not bent, broken. 15 years of loneliness crashed over me at once. 15 years of being ignored by the same woman, now claiming to protect me. The calls that came only when she needed money. The canceled dinners. The holidays spent alone while she was too busy. It all crystallized in a single moment. I let go of Megan's hand, stepped down from the altar, and walked toward my daughter. The hall somehow grew even quieter. 500 people holding their breath. I stopped in front of Donna, close enough to see the surprise in her eyes. You're right about one thing, I said calmly. Someone does need to tell the truth. I let the silence stretch. 3 years ago, you borrowed $3,200 from me. You promised to pay it back in 6 months. You never did. With interest, you owe me over $4,000. Her mouth opened, then closed. 2 years ago, you needed money for Oliver's tuition. I gave it to you, never repaid. The room was completely focused on us now. 4 months ago, you cried about credit card debt. $4,800? I gave you that too, and you used it to buy the dress you're wearing. Donna's face burned red. That's over $10,000 you took from me. Nothing returned. But here's the truth that matters most. You haven't visited me on Christmas in 5 years. You've canceled dinner 15 times. The only time you call is when you need money. Dad, this isn't... No, I said sharply. This is exactly the time. You stood up at my wedding and humiliated the woman I love. I stepped back and looked at her, at Luca, at the Langfords. Get out. She blinked. What? Leave. All of you. Right now. I've never been more serious in my life. The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then Donna found her voice. You're kicking me out! Her voice rose to a shriek. Your own daughter! This is insane! Luca snarled, stepping forward. You ungrateful old man. Douglas Langford pushed past his son, jabbing a thick finger in my direction. You can't do this to my family. We have connections in this city. Real connections. We'll ruin you. I looked at him calmly. Then ruin me. You've already ruined the most important day of my life. Lorraine's voice hit a pitch that made the chandeliers rattle. This is disgraceful. We drove all the way here to support you. That's when Harold Bennett rose from his seat, face crimson. Support! His voice boomed across the hall. You call mocking him. Support Donna. You should be ashamed of yourself. Donna whirled on him. Stay out of this, old man. Yeah, mind your business, Gramps. Trent added, still filming. This content is gold. Old dude literally kicking out his own daughter. Kylie laughed, angling her phone for a better shot. Your wife's still trash no matter what you do. That's when Vincent Blake, the venue manager, appeared at the end of our row. Behind him stood 2 security guards in dark suits, hands clasped professionally in front of them. Mr. Fletcher, Vincent said quietly, do you want these guests removed? I nodded, just once, but it was enough. The guards moved forward with calm efficiency. Sir, ma'am, we're going to need you to leave the premises. Donna's composure shattered completely. She grabbed her designer purse, knocked her chair backward with a crash. This is ridiculous. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Luca straightened his suit, that expensive watch catching the light one more time. You'll regret this, old man. Mark my words. Douglas and Lorraine made as much noise as possible, shouting threats about lawyers and lawsuits and people they knew. Trent and Kylie kept their phones up, capturing every second their live stream comments, scrolling past faster than anyone could read. As the security guards escorted the whole group toward the doors, Donna suddenly stopped, turned back, her face twisted with something between rage and desperation. Dad, she pointed at me, voice carrying across the entire hall. You'll never see Oliver and Sophie again. Never. I swear on my life, you'll never see your grandchildren again. The words hit me like a physical blow. Oliver, 7 years old with Eleanor's eyes. Sophie, 5 with that gap-toothed smile that could light up a room. My grandchildren, my babies. The door closed behind them with a thunderous thud that echoed through the hall. Silence. Complete, total silence. 500 people sat frozen, unsure what to do, how to react, whether this wedding would even continue. Then I heard it, a single clap. Slow, deliberate. Harold Bennett still standing, clapping alone. Another guest joined him, then another. The applause built like a wave rolling through the hall. Some people stood, then more. Within seconds, half the room was on their feet, applauding. I stood there, trembling. Tears streamed down my face, hot and unstoppable. I'd just expelled my daughter from my wedding. I'd potentially lost access to my grandchildren forever. The 2 innocent souls in this entire mess. I felt Megan's arms surround me. She held me tight, and for a moment, I let myself break. Just for a moment. Minister Palmer approached, concern etched across his face. Gideon, should we continue? I tried to answer, but couldn't find words. 500 pairs of eyes watched me, waiting, wondering. Megan took my hand and leaned close, her breath warm against my ear. Gideon, honey, she whispered. There's something I need to tell you. What is it? My voice barely rose above a whisper. Megan looked straight into my eyes with an intensity I had never seen before. Around us, 500 people stood frozen in that heavy silence that comes after a storm. I'm not who you think I am. My heart lurched. After everything that had just happened, I couldn't imagine what more there could be. What do you mean? She took a steady breath. Gideon, honey, I'm a billionaire. The words didn't land. They hovered between us, unreal. What? I'm a billionaire, she repeated softly. I have $980 million in assets. My legs weakened. The room tilted. Harold's hand shot out and gripped my arm, steadying me. Around us, 500 people gasped at once, followed by a wave of frantic whispers. I don't understand, I said, shaking my head. You're a volunteer coordinator. You live in a small apartment. You wear... I gestured at her simple dress, lost for words. Megan stayed calm, loving. I own Pinnacle Properties and Build. The name meant nothing to me. She saw it on my face. We've built over 100 commercial buildings across the Southeast. More than 50 residential complexes. I've worked in construction and real estate development for 30 years since I was 32. I stared at her. My Megan. The woman who brought me coffee and organized potluck dinners. That Megan. 8 years ago, my husband Daniel died of a sudden heart attack, she continued quietly. We built the company together. He was a good man. After he passed, everything changed. Pain flickered across her eyes. People stopped seeing me. They saw my money. Old friends resurfaced with business ideas. Relatives I barely knew showed up asking for help. Men invited me to dinner after checking my net worth online. I listened, my mind struggling to catch up. So I disappeared, she said. Not completely. I still run everything but through my attorney, Lawrence Mitchell. A distinguished man in row 12 stood. Silver hair, tailored suit. He nodded at me respectfully. I changed how I lived, Megan went on. I moved into a small apartment. $950 a month, though I owned the building. I wore simple clothes. I volunteered at the senior center. Real work, not donations. She took my hands. I wanted someone to love me. Not my money, not my properties or accounts, just me. Her gaze never wavered. You treated me with kindness when you thought I had nothing. You insisted on paying for dinner even when it was hard. You worried about spending $75,000 on this wedding. That mattered to me. You loved me for who I am, Gideon. My thoughts spun. The wedding? We split the cost. The venue. The venue gave us a special discount, she said gently. That was Lawrence handling it quietly. The truth crashed over me. Megan, my Megan, was nearly a billionaire. The woman my daughter had called trash. The woman Luca mocked. The woman the Langfords laughed at. She could buy and sell them all without blinking. Gasps rippled through the hall. Harold squeezed my shoulder, stunned. I could barely breathe. Then Megan's expression changed. Gideon, she said softly, there's more you need to know. Lawrence Mitchell stepped forward, a briefcase in hand. His expression was calm, professional, but not unkind. Mr. Fletcher, he said, with your permission, there's information about your daughter you should know. I nodded. At that point, shock had burned itself out. I felt numb. 3 months ago, Mrs. Sullivan asked me to conduct a discreet financial investigation into Donna and Luca. Langford, Lawrence continued. What we discovered was severe. They are currently carrying approximately $2.5 million in debt. The number struck me like a punch to the chest. What? Lawrence opened his briefcase and removed several documents. Donna's event planning business collapsed 18 months ago. She lost around $400,000. Luca's car dealership declared bankruptcy shortly after leaving him with $1.2 million in unpaid loans. Their credit cards are maxed at roughly $300,000. Additionally, they've taken out personal loans totaling $600,000 from lenders operating outside legal boundaries. My head spun. $2.5 million. They'd been living lavishly for years, drowning in debt. Suddenly, everything made sense. The constant requests for money. The panic in Donna's voice. The luxury clothes and expensive watches worn alongside claims of hardship. They're facing foreclosure on their home, Lawrence added. Their vehicles are scheduled for repossession. And those illegal lenders, he paused, they've begun making threats. But he wasn't finished. There's something else, he said, pulling out another document. On February 18th, 4 months ago, a wire transfer was sent to Donna's bank account. The amount was $4,100. I stared at the page. The memo line reads, Loan from Gideon Fletcher, paid in full by Megan Sullivan. My heart seemed to stop. What I whispered. Megan gently touched my arm. I wanted to help you, Gideon. I knew that debt worried you. I knew you carried guilt over it. So I paid it off. She hesitated. But I also wanted to see if Donna would tell you, if she had any honesty left. She never told me, I said, my voice breaking. Lawrence nodded. Bank records confirmed the money was deposited on February 18th. She received it. Yet 2 weeks ago on May 3rd, he showed me his phone. She called you, asking when you would take care of that loan. The memory hit hard. Donna's irritated voice, her impatience, my shame. I'd promised to send money soon. She'd already been paid months earlier, and she lied. That isn't all, Megan said quietly. The $2,100 for Oliver's tuition. She had funds at that time from selling business assets. She didn't need your help. And the $4,800 for her credit card debt. She swallowed. Lawrence tracked it. She used it to buy the dress she wore today. I felt dizzy. My daughter hadn't just borrowed money. She'd deceived me, manipulated me, used my love and guilt like tools. This was never about money. It was about who she'd become. Harold Bennett squeezed my shoulder. Gideon, I'm so sorry. Around us 500 guests murmured. Some looked stunned. Others nodded knowingly. Minister Palmer stood silent, pale. I felt physically sick. But beneath the nausea and heartbreak, one thought formed with painful clarity. I needed to see her. One last time. I needed to look my daughter in the eye and ask her why. Minister Palmer's voice pulled me back. Gideon, do you want to continue the ceremony? I looked at Megan. Her eyes were full of compassion and understanding. Can we do this another day? Of course, honey. She squeezed my hand. Take all the time you need. I turned to face the 500 guests who'd witnessed everything. I'm sorry. I need to process this. The response surprised me. No judgment, no disappointment, just understanding nods and supportive murmurs. People began standing, coming forward to shake my hand to tell me they understood. Harold gripped my shoulder hard. Take care of yourself, buddy. Call me if you need anything. The next few days blurred together. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how my daughter had become someone I didn't recognize. Megan stayed close but gave me space. She didn't push. She just existed beside me, a steady, quiet presence. Lawrence kept me updated. 3 days after the wedding, Donna lost her house to foreclosure. 5 days after Luca filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and her financial irresponsibility. My phone showed 47 missed calls from Donna's number. I couldn't bring myself to answer. Her text messages piled up. Dad, please. I'm sorry. They're going to hurt me. Please, Dad, I need help. I was torn. Part of me wanted to delete every message to block her number and never speak to her again. But she was still my daughter. Still the little girl I'd raised. What if she really was in danger? Megan found me one evening staring at my phone. She sat beside me on the couch. Go see her, she said quietly. You'll never have peace until you do. I don't know if I can. You can. But remember something, Gideon. Giving her money now won't teach her anything. It'll just tell her that manipulation works, that she can destroy you and you'll still save her. She took my hand. Sometimes, the most loving thing a parent can do is let their child face the consequences of their choices. 1 week after what should have been my wedding day, I made my decision. Lawrence provided the address, South Savannah, a neighborhood I'd driven through, but never stopped in. Megan offered to come with me. I told her I needed to do this alone. The building looked worse than I'd imagined. Peeling paint hung in strips. The concrete steps had cracks wide enough to catch your foot. Trash gathered in the corners where the wind had blown it. I thought about Donna's old house, 5 bedrooms, a pool in the backyard, a gated entrance. She'd lived like royalty while drowning in debt. And now this. I took a deep breath and started climbing the stairs. Each step creaked ominously under my weight. 2nd floor, 3rd floor. The smell of mildew and something burnt lingered in the hallway. Apartment 3C. The numbers hung crooked, the brass tarnished almost black. I raised my hand, hesitated, then knocked. For a long moment, nothing. Then I heard shuffling footsteps on the other side. The door opened slowly, and I barely recognized the woman standing before me. This wasn't the Donna who had stood up at my wedding a week ago in her $4,800 crimson dress. This wasn't the daughter who had mocked Megan with that cruel, confident smile. This was someone else entirely. Her hair hung in greasy tangles around her face. Dark circles hollowed out her eyes, making her look like she hadn't slept in days. Maybe she hadn't. Her oversized hoodie was stained and wrinkled, swallowing her frame. She'd lost weight, too much weight. She looked 10 years older than 37. Dad, her voice cracked. Dad, you came. I stepped inside without answering. The studio apartment was even worse than I'd imagined. A bare mattress lay unmade in the corner, surrounded by empty takeout boxes and bottles. The air smelled stale, desperate. This was rock bottom. I didn't think you'd come, Donna whispered, closing the door behind me. I thought you hated me. I don't hate you. The words came out harder than I intended. But I don't know who you are anymore. She flinched. Then the tears started. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For what I said at your wedding. For how I treated Megan. For all of it. I stood there, arms crossed, waiting. I'd heard apologies before. I needed to hear the truth. I was jealous, she continued, voice breaking. When you told me about Megan, all I could think about was how you didn't need me anymore. How you'd finally found someone else to care about. It made me feel replaced. So you tried to destroy it. Yes. She collapsed onto the edge of the mattress, burying her face in her hands. I wanted to prove she wasn't good enough. That I was right. That you still needed me. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Silence filled the small room. I thought about Megan's words from last week. Let her fall, Gideon. Let her learn to stand on her own. Luca took the kids, Donna said quietly. Oliver and Sophie. He filed for divorce 3 days ago. Said I was toxic, that he couldn't let me drag them down with me. My chest tightened. My grandchildren. Where are they? With his parents. He won't let me see them until I'm stable. She looked up at me with red, desperate eyes. Dad, I need help. I owe people. Bad people. They're threatening me. I need $500,000 by the end of next week, or they said, no. The word came out firm and final. Donna stared at me like I'd slapped her. What? I said no, Donna. I'm not giving you money. But Dad, you don't understand. These people will hurt me. I understand perfectly. I pulled Lawrence Mitchell's business card from my pocket and held it out. This is Megan's lawyer. He's one of the best in the state. Call him. He'll help you file for bankruptcy protection, negotiate with your creditors, and keep you safe legally. She stared at the card like it was a foreign object. I don't need a lawyer. I need money. No. You need to face the consequences of your choices. I placed the card on the small table beside her. Money is what got you here, Donna. More money isn't going to fix you. So you're just going to let me, what fail, lose everything. You've already lost everything. My voice softened, but my resolve didn't. And maybe that's what you needed. Maybe hitting rock bottom is the only way you'll learn to climb back up. Tears streamed down her face. I'm your daughter. I know. And because you're my daughter, I'm doing the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I'm letting you fall, so you can learn to stand. I turned toward the door. My hand was on the handle when I heard her voice, small and broken. Will you ever forgive me? I paused, turned back, looked at this woman who used to be the little girl I'd raised, the child I'd sacrificed everything for. I don't know, I said honestly, but I want to. And if you can prove to me that you've changed not with words but with actions, then maybe we'll get there. I left before I could change my mind, before the father in me overruled the man who knew this was the only way. I didn't know if I'd made the right choice. I wouldn't know for months. 6 months passed. December arrived cold off the Atlantic, but inside our beachfront home, everything felt warm. Megan and I had married quietly in June. 10 people on the sand at sunset. No drama, just love. I'd learned about her empire piece by piece. Pinnacle properties. Buildings I'd walked past for decades. But I didn't want to run her business. I wanted to build something of my own. The Eleanor Fletcher Fund launched in October. We helped lonely seniors find community. It gave me what I'd lost 15 years ago, meaning. But there was a hole I couldn't fill. Donna. 6 months of silence. No calls. No texts. Nothing since I'd walked out of that apartment. Was she okay? Had I destroyed her? Or had she found her way back? December 15th. Morning coffee on the deck. My phone rang. Harold. Gideon, turn on Channel 9. Right now. I grabbed the remote. A community center appeared on screen. Young people sitting in folding chairs listening. The speaker stood at a podium. Donna. But different. Clean jeans and a navy sweater. Healthy hair. Calm face. Something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Peace. A year ago, she said, I had everything. Beautiful home. Designer clothes. The latest car. She paused. I also had $2.5 million in debt. And a father I treated like garbage. My breath caught. I lost everything in a month. My house, my husband, my children, and worst of all, my father's respect. Megan's hand found my shoulder. I filed for bankruptcy, got legal protection. My ex-husband divorced me and took custody of our kids. Her voice stayed steady. I started over at zero. I'm a waitress now. $12 an hour plus tips. I pay $200 a month toward old debts. It'll take over 20 years. A young woman raised her hand. How do you keep going? Donna smiled a real smile. Therapy twice a week, financial literacy classes, co-parenting classes to rebuild my relationship with my kids, and remembering that material things almost destroyed me. She looked at the camera. Dad, if you're watching, I leaned forward, tears already starting. I finally understand what you did. You gave me the hardest gift consequences. Her voice broke. You let me fall, and I hated you for it. But it saved my life. She wiped her eyes. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I'm proud to be your daughter. And I hope someday you can be proud of me too. A pause. I love you, Dad. The screen cut to commercial. I couldn't stop crying. Megan held me while I shook. I pulled out my phone. I'm proud of you. Her response came 2 minutes later. That means more than any money in the world. Can I see you? 2 weeks later, we met at a cafe. Awkward at first, but Donna brought proof, pay stubs, therapy notes, co-parenting progress. She didn't ask for money. She asked for a relationship. A month after that, she brought Oliver and Sophie to the house. Shy at first, but Megan was magic with them, baking cookies, building sandcastles. Healing began, slowly, but it began. 1 year after the wedding disaster, Megan and I renewed our vows. 50 guests, real friends, real family. Donna sat quietly in the back, grateful just to be there. Now, as the sun sets over the ocean, I watch Oliver and Sophie chase waves. Donna's working the evening shift, but called to say goodnight to the kids. Megan's hand finds mine. People ask if I regret how everything happened. The humiliation, the confrontation, the tough love. I don't. Because sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. Real wealth isn't in a bank account. It's knowing your worth, standing up for your dignity, and believing people can change if they truly want it. My daughter wanted it. And that's worth more than all of Megan's billions. As the sun dips below the horizon, turning the world soft and golden, I realize something. I finally found my peace. And it's priceless. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized God had a plan, even when I couldn't see it. When my daughter humiliated me at that wedding, when I had to make the hardest choice of my life, God was teaching me that true love sometimes means letting go. This is one of those grandpa stories I'll tell Oliver and Sophie when they're older. Not to shame their mother, but to show them that people can change. That redemption is real. That consequences, as painful as they are, can save lives. My advice? Don't be like I was for too many years. Don't let people use you. Even family. Don't confuse enabling with love. I should have set boundaries with Donna decades ago. But I also learned this: don't give up on people. God didn't give up on any of us, so who am I to give up on my own daughter? The lesson from this true story: material wealth means nothing without dignity. Megan's billions couldn't buy what we have now: peace, respect, genuine love. And tough love, as brutal as it feels, is sometimes the greatest gift you can give. These grandpa stories teach us that God works through our hardest moments. This true story showed me that broken relationships can heal if both people are willing to change. And this true story proved that real wealth isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in character. If you enjoyed these grandpa stories, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Subscribe to stay connected and hit that share button so others can hear this message. Your support means the world. God bless you all.